year too in high school. And I will say that we just PCS'd 6 months ago in the middle of the pandemic, and the whole friendship thing has been hard moving, because normally you're integrated right away into my husband's in the Air Force, into a squadron, so you at least have some people to meet. And so making friends this time around has been a lot more difficult, a lot more challenging, because not as many in-person things going on. So this is how I've been making friends recently,
online,
network virtual events.
Yeah.
So when you guys asked if I wanted to be part of this conversation, I was like, yes, adult conversation. And with fellow spouses, I'll take it.
Yeah, I have an 8th grader, 9th grader, and then a 4th grader. So there's like still kind of the little kid thing, but like kind of drifting away from that. And then, on the other end, high school, but it's different than when they were, toddlers, and I could, call up friends and we'd have a play date with all the 2-year-olds and we could sit and talk and they'd play. Like that world is gone now. Like it's a very different world.
Yeah,
see, and I'm on the baby train. We got a 3-month-old, a 2-year-old, but I also have my sister that I'm her guardian, and she's a teenager. So I'm like way on both spectrums. And like y'all said, like your life status right now, that's the type of friends you want. And I'm heavily involved in the military community, and so the spouses my age don't really want to be a part of that. So I struggle to find those friends that want to do what I want to do, but also deal with my kids.
Yeah, I know. When we moved here, my kids were, what, you guys were 9? Yeah, 10, 12, and 14. So it was like pulling up at the high school or the middle school, and you see, so because I'm always like looking at people like, oh, they seem like they'll be cool to get to know, and I'll strike up a conversation with anyone. But when your kids get a little older, that's just a little weird, right? Like, because you pull up and you're sitting in the car. You're not waiting around at the playground. You're just waiting in the car. So,
you don't need to be with your kids every step of the way.
Right.
So then you've cut off that. And then like this year, like sometimes, I'd see other moms at the school functions, but this year we're not even allowed in the school. We can't even go and have lunch. I would see people that I kind of knew casually when I'd go to lunch with my kid, and now I don't even, that's all been taken away. And so this year's different.
I said it, she played softball, and I would hit the softball field, and I made myself a friend because of Mystical. I remember we were in the stand, both of us.
That's so funny.
Sitting on separate ends, but we were both singing the same song, and I was like, what? Because one of the girls were getting up to bat in her theme song, and we were like, that's not how that song goes. We're like, it goes like, and we're singing it, danger, danger. Get on the floor. Oh, y'all like, what the heck? And that's how we clicked, because of, music. I love music. But, it's so different, because that's how I met Nishida in Japan, was because of my youngest daughter, who was 3, and she was mean mugging Nishida. But I was forced to talk to Nishida because I was mean mugging a grown woman. Like, you can't be mean mugging a grown woman. Learn your place, child. But yeah. What about you, Jasmine?
Oh, well, I just had to figure out how to make friends early, because I've been moving since I was young because of my dad. But who's there for a season, who's not. I could pick it up easy now.
That's really good to learn at your age. Like,
for real.
That's.
I think one of the struggles that I've had, I can talk to a stump. So I've never had trouble making friends. My biggest problem, and this is even with, and this is even with my family, I tend to withdraw from people when I know that we are about to PCS, or when we were about to PCS. I would start pulling away from those relationships, and I didn't realize I was doing it. It was a subconscious thing. It was a protective factor. And I didn't realize I was doing it. And one thing that I've learned throughout my time as a military spouse is friendships are relationships, and they take work. It's just like a marriage. If you don't work at it, it's gonna go stale, and friendships kind of do the same thing. You have to make that effort to remain in contact, to stay in each other's lives. And sometimes we get busy and we forget, and it's not about having that person that, oh, you've got to talk to them every day to stay close. One thing we say as military spouses, I know, my military sisters say this. I'm not sure about the guy part of the spouse community, but the female part, it's, it doesn't matter how long we go without talking to each other, we pick up right where we left off. But at the same time, sometimes it's a little awkward when you pick that conversation back up, because it has been so long, and then you wonder to yourself, well, why did we ever lose contact? How did we lose that closeness? And it's because we forget that those friendships are relationships that take maintenance. So that's one of the things that I've struggled with over the years, is just the maintaining the relationships, not so much making the friends, but maintaining it.
I find it hard to maintain those friendships over distance.
It's hard.
So say you do move, and then you're living a completely different life. Maybe you're in a different time zone. And I forget I have friends on the other side of the country in California, and I'm going, and I'm calling, and she's like, no. Do you realize what time it is? And I'm going, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was either, so early. And here I am, about to have lunch, and they're farther behind than we are. And she's like, we're just getting up over here. But, y'all get in, once you move, you get into different time zones, and you have a different routine. Your routine has completely changed.
Right.
And you find that you have trouble figuring that out, that pattern, that routine, basically, of, communicating with them and finding a new way to connect, because now you've got to challenge distance and time and new routines, and you're going to be making new friends in that location. So how do you reconnect with someone that you're no longer in that circle with? I find that a little difficult too.
Yes.
It's very hard, and especially with being military spouses, even when you are with someone in person, that eventually one or both of you is going to leave. And like from experience, I know that I've had the best relationships with the best friends, and then they move, or I move, and it's different. They're my Facebook friend now. I still love them and care about them, but it's never the same again. And that's the heartbreaking part about it. But at the same time, it's there's always future friends. There's always new people to meet. And so I try to look at it everyone I've met that's become a special best friend to me will always be in my heart, and those memories will always be a part of me. And we might not ever see each other again, but they will always be special to me and a part of my life. But I'll make new friends. I know I will, and have that close in person with them. And I don't know, I just have to look at it it's sad, but it's not. It's still worth making friends. It's still having those 2 years together, or however long you have, because I can just take that with me in my heart. So.
And so that does bring me to the point where I was, one of the topic points is the question of, do you guys find that you make friends out of convenience sometimes, that we're in this space together, so we're going to be friends. It's not necessarily like if you just lived in one place, you might not be friends with this person, but now that this person is there, you do find a common ground and then a closeness, but it's more convenient. And then when they move, as you were saying, you kind of grow apart, and then they're your Facebook friend because you kind of were friends because of convenience, because you're in the same space at the same time, and over time you trust that person and that person trusts you, and then it's convenient to, maybe they have the same age child as you, or they have a couple of interests that you have that you could go share time with them, whereas you can't share that time with anyone else. Other people, maybe they don't do the same type of activities, but this person does. And do you guys feel like sometimes as military spouses, as we're moving around, are we making friendships out of convenience, or are we really bonding with each other and making like lifetime friendships? Do you guys have a lot of lifetime friendships or a small amount?
So, Nashid, I want to tell you first, Camille said, hey. So I'll tell you that. So, as I said earlier, Nashida and I met in Japan in 2014. Is it 2014?
Something like that.
So,
I have no idea.
and we've remained in touch since then. We talk a lot via Voxer. She's in Japan, so we work through that time zone difference, and so we do a lot of Voxer messages. And I'm gonna say this, Nashid already knows this, she's heard me say this before, my daughter has heard me say it too, my husband cringes every time I say it. But talking about convenience, yes, I have made friends out of convenience. And at first, when I became a military spouse, I was hurt because I didn't realize that people did make friendships out of convenience, right? I didn't understand that.
Me
and
too.
I remember a conversation that I had with a friend back in college many moons ago, and she said this to me, and I remembered it later in life, that you have three types of people in your life with friendships. You have your good girlfriends, your acquaintances, and your hoes. And I cringed when she said that, and I didn't think much about it. But now I'm like, yes, out of convenience, you end up falling in that whole category. I know some of y'all like, no, she didn't just say this, but it is those connections. It's out of convenience. It's, oh, you like to go to the mall. I like to go to the mall too. We have all of our conversations surface talk. You know nothing about me personally. You just like to hang out and go shopping. I like to hang out and go shopping. And when you call me, I know that's what you want. When I call you, you know that's what I want. We do nothing else together. And so, yeah, Nashida, to answer that, yes, I have made friends out of convenience. And I know when I leave that duty station, that relationship is over. Now, I don't go in thinking that, but I do realize that that is just part of life in general, that it's part of this lifestyle, most definitely. I do try to build a relationship with everyone that I know and truly get to know them, but I've been in this game for a long time, and it took me a while to learn that there are people that are in your life only for a season. And so now when I meet people, I'm like, this isn't going any further. I accept my place in your life, and I'm your hoe, and it's okay. I have been a lot of people's hoe, but that's cool because I want to go eat, you want to go eat. It's all good. Jessica's like, I'm sorry, but
I'm laughing because it makes sense. Like, I never thought of it that way, but you're saying it and I'm going, oh my gosh, I have done that. And it didn't occur to me that I have done that.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, I think people have made friends with me like in earlier stages when I guess it's just like, oh, I need to be her friend because I know she's a good babysitter. And plus, she used to work at the military daycare. So she got her
Oh.
CPR stuff already ready to go. So I'm like, dang, they use me.
Aw.
Civil. I'm like, they really use me.
And now you know. Now you know.
And it sounds bad when you put it that way, but really, I mean, that's just kind of the way we have to adapt. I mean, when you
Right.
move to a new duty station and you know no one there and you're registering your kids for school and you have to go knock on the neighbor's door and say, "Hey, can I use you as an emergency
Right.
contact for my kid
Right.
because I don't know anybody."
Mhm.
It kind of, I think we're programmed that way. We've got to look for resources, and we look for those resources in other military spouses.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I know it does kind of sound bad when you say, we're finding each other out of necessity, but some of the best friendships come out of necessity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I will tell you my best military spouse friend. I love this woman. She passed away unexpectedly a few years ago. When we met, it was convenience, right? I was new to the military spouse life. She had been in for a couple of years. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, we can hang out. And I didn't have that mentality and I still don't have that mentality. I just know when I meet certain people, I'm like, oh, this is the slot they've put me in. And it's okay. Like I accept it. I'm like, okay, you're never going to invite me to your party, but you gonna call me up to go out to eat. Like I accept that and that's cool. But with her, it was like, okay, you know what? I need someone. Like I needed her. And I wasn't really expecting a friendship out of it, but we became the best of friends. And she was there when I gave birth to I ain't know nothing about no baby. She was there with me when I had Jasmine. When we were in Japan, she would stay up late and talk to me. When I went through, I had postpartum with my middle daughter, and the day that it all came crashing down, she was in California, we were in Maryland, and I called her. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, and she got up. She sat on the phone with me until my husband got home, and she's like, "Take her to Bethesda. Like you need to help her. She needs help." And she checked on me every single day, and still to this day. And like I said, she passed away. Still to this day, I'll hear you dirtbag. Oh, because that's what she called me, and it's like, let me get it together. And I think back to our first time meeting. Like I was literally just like, oh, okay. She seemed cool. Okay, I talked to her. I need somebody to talk to, so I'll talk to you. But nope, we were like this. Like, and her husband and we are still really good friends. He joins us on our family Zoom calls on the weekends, and talks to my family in California. But she became my sister. And I will tell you guys, for the longest, I did not want anyone else in my life like that. Nope. When she passed, I was like, nope, no one else is going to enter my life. I have let people enter my life again because I realized I needed that. But yeah, I'm gonna stop talking because I'm gonna get sad. This ain't too sad.
So my husband's been in for almost 20 years. I've been part of that ride the entire time. And so I've definitely had those friends that have come and gone. But I am if being a friend could be a full-time job, like that would be my full-time job. Because I truly love, there's something about making friends that I love. Definitely been hurt over the years by some people, but realized that, like you said, Sybil, I didn't realize what I was to them at that point. And then now looking back, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Still hurts, but I can move on knowing that. But much like you know, some of those friends may have started out of convenience because our husbands were doing the same thing, or we were in the same, you know, squadron or whatever, have become the best of friends. And I make it a point, I don't always get this in return. And I think this is the big thing about friendship, is managing expectations. What are you willing to do and what are you expecting? Because if I were to always expect from others what I can put in, I'm going to be very disappointed. But, you know, I try to take some time. Anytime somebody pops in my head, even if it's someone I haven't talked to in a while, I'll just send a quick message. It doesn't take but a second to send a quick message to say, hey, I was just thinking about you. That could maybe restart the conversation. And so multiple times throughout my week, I'll do that to people. Or if I see somebody random on Facebook that I'm like, wow, I haven't talked to them in 10 years, I'll stop for a second because I'm mindlessly scrolling anyways. So I'll stop and make a point to reach out or comment on whatever it was that they shared. That's just me. It brings me joy, and I love doing that. So that's one way that I've been able to stay in touch with people over the years. And sorry, I'm rambling now, but I had a best friend, she's still one of my best friends, military spouse, met at our very first duty station in Japan. And my father passed away. Let's see, we moved there in February, he passed away in April. And it was a complete out of the blue, not expected. And she, at the drop of the hat in the middle of the night, came over, packed my bag because my dad was in Singapore, packed my suitcase, got everything organized. I had no idea what was happening. And by the next morning, all I know is that my family and I were ready to board a plane. And we got on a plane to get to where we needed to go. And then years later, I was able to do that for her when her dad passed away. And it's like, so even though some of those convenient friends or those friends that you don't stay in touch with, you never know when they're going to come back in your life, and vice versa.
And the military world is small. So there's always, if you're in it for the 20 years or whatever, there's always a chance that you're going to end up not together again. You never know.
Yep.
Jasmine, what about you? Have you made friends out of convenience in your?
I've had to, because when we first moved here, I was my freshman year, but my school was 7th through 12. So pretty much everybody that was already at that school had been at that school. And then the elementary school goes straight to the school. And so I just had to learn for myself for 2 weeks. I'm not gonna forget that. And then there's this one girl that she would sit there, and we had gym together. And so I ended up sitting with her and her friends. Cause she told me, she was like, I wouldn't even talk to you because you was the only Black girl in class. And I was like, nobody else here I could talk to. So she came up to me. So then we're not friends anymore. But I didn't mean to say it like that, but we're not. And
Okay.
But everybody would always tell me, your high school friends aren't your friend. Like your freshman group, because my freshman group was like 20 people. We would all just stay in the hallway being annoying. But then once we got the ones I have now, I think are my friends, bro. Because one of my best friends here, she came up to me because me and my sister were sitting there, and we were the only people that looked nice. That's what she told me. And so then we just started talking because I had no friends. It was my first week there, and I was just at a club. And now we go everywhere together. Like whenever I want to go somewhere, hey, you want to go out? She's like, yeah.
Do you have long-term friends that you've met at other duty stations?
I have about 2 friends that I've known since 5th grade. No, 3rd.
Yeah, you guys met.
We met in 3rd, but then I moved, and we haven't seen each other since the 5th grade. After I moved, but we still like FaceTime every day. Like we talk.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Every day.
And then I have friends everywhere. Like we're moving this summer, which I was kind of bummed because I had a friend who I met in Hawaii, and then she moved to San Diego, and I moved to Virginia. I actually know somebody up here in Virginia who she knows, so then I had them reconnect. But then I told her, I was like, I'm moving to San Diego, and then she was like, girl, I just moved to Virginia.
Oh no.
And then I was like,
Well.
I try to keep connections with people who I like, because I can tell who I would keep talking to and who I wouldn't before I moved. Which is a skill I appreciate.
It's a great skill to learn at an early age. Yes.
You guys ever have friends, like, do you ever make friends with local people though, and they don't move? Have you ever had that? Like we, I don't know how many assignments ago, maybe 4, 5 assignments ago, I stopped counting. My children, my oldest was 8 at the time. He's 17 now. He made his very best friend, and he was local to the area that we were living in. And that was the hardest move for our son, because he knew, like, when you make friends with other military, like your daughter was saying, you know that one of you is moving at some point. So there's always that, well, I might be the first one moving, but you're not going to be here forever, so it's okay. But when we moved and he knew that his friend wasn't moving, that was like super hard. But they FaceTime all the time. They've been best friends now for 8 years plus. They both just turned 17 together, and they came out, their entire family came out to us for Thanksgiving.
Oh,
That's cool.
And so my kids really only know like those deep friendships from being forced to figure out ways to stay in touch and think outside of the normal scope of deep friendships.
Yeah, I would say as a military spouse, definitely make friends with civilians because they know the in and outs of the areas. They know the job details, how to. I personally talk to my civilian friends in Pensacola from time to time, and like they felt like family. I think when you meet locals, I think I connected with the people in Pensacola because it's pretty much veterans town. So half of the retirees were a little bit older. So I literally had a mama and a daddy and a grandma and papa right down the street. So it was just like, it felt like family. Now moving away from them, I literally had anxiety attacks because I was like, oh my God, I'm leaving my family. So yeah, I would say connect with civilians. Will pretty much fill that family void too.
Yeah. Becca, Patience said we ended up back together. Patience Thompson.
We did. God love her. When I'm talking about some of my dearest military sisters, bless that one's soul. We were stationed in Hawaii together, and we're actually from Mississippi, and we, grew up literally 70 miles apart and just didn't know each other then. We ended up in Hawaii, and she was there throughout the entire pregnancy of my last child, who, oh my Lord, I don't know how I have a friend left, because I was such a hateful, horrible, mean, just nasty pregnant woman. She and another friend of ours threw me a baby shower. I mean, they were there from beginning to end. And the minute I spit that baby out, you would have thought that I had flipped the script, because I was a different person. Like, I went right back to normal. And it was really some Jekyll and Hyde stuff. My last name fits the situation, because it was some Jekyll and Hyde stuff. But she found out we were moving to Huntsville, and they retired here as well. And I mean, we just another example of picking right back up where you left off. And yeah, Patience rocks. She's one of my closest, dearest friends. She's definitely one of my sisters.
She said she doesn't either. Haha, she was extra, but I love her. And to your point about the locals, one of my neighbors, has been here for her entire life, her and her husband. And it was so funny because when we first moved in, she asked if we were a military family. And I was like, yes, we are. What gave it away? She's like, the trucks, because we came from Hawaii, so we had two shipments. She's like, the trucks. And I was like, okay. Best neighbors, because she's like, whatever you need, and they're teachers in our district, so double greatness. But yeah, anytime, I'm like, hey, especially in the summertime, if we're sitting outside, I'm like, hey, can you tell me? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, because yeah, we look up the reviews and stuff, but sometimes you just want to know, like, a local perspective for real. So yeah. Sorry, Nishita. We'll be quiet. Let you go back.
No. I like hearing y'all talk about it. I like talking about it too. But I think that as far as civilian friendships, I think that I met most of my civilian friends because of work. So I'm not working, I don't really meet a lot of civilians. Even if I live out in town, I just don't bother to do it. I don't know why. Like especially when we live in an apartment, it's just so many people in there, and I'm like, I don't know who's living in that apartment. It's different when it's in a house and then you have like a few neighbors. Mm-hmm. You could kind of feel them out. I think you could be like, oh, that neighbor comes in at this time, that neighbor always speaks, or this neighbor doesn't speak, but we've mostly lived in apartments. So I have met some civilian friends in Japan because of my job, and also in Pensacola. I worked out in town, and I met a couple of people, but we didn't keep in touch over the years. So I'm not really good at keeping in touch. I keep in touch sometimes, but I just feel like sometimes when it's a lot of convenience, you know what I mean? Like friendships of convenience, it's like, it's hard to keep in touch because you don't really have anything in common, really. You have small things in common that really doesn't like hold you together, if that makes sense. I don't know. And from my perspective, I guess. And so then that would bring me to the part where I want to ask y'all about the relationships that don't last because you got into it with them, or they got into it with you, or it was just toxic. And how do you guys like address that? Have you had toxic friends that you've had to say, look, we just can't be friends anymore? Or did you kind of like be like me and just kind of move away and then PCS and then block them on Facebook? But I don't block anybody. I just mute people. I don't block anybody. I just mute them so they won't come after me later.
I'm about to be as real as I know how to be, and everybody listening, you can say you don't do it, and I'm still going to tell you that you're crazy, that you do at some point. I keep people I can't stand, and there's not that many because I just love most people I come across, but there's a select few. I keep them on my Facebook so I know where their next duty station is, and I don't go there. I will ask my husband, I'll be like, we'll be looking at duty stations, and I'll be like, hang on a minute, let me see where so-and-so's at. What's next on that list? What's our next billet? That one's not working for me. So yeah, I may be a bad person for that, but y'all do it too.
I used to do that, and then I decided that I didn't want them to be nosy anymore, so I just deleted them altogether. Right. But I am that person. If I have a problem, I will come to you. We can talk about it. And if you decide that we can't talk about it, then I am done. And I will let you know, no, this is not working. You're messing with my peace. I'm done. Mm-hmm. So, but now after 2020, I think that I've gotten to that place, and I don't know, I'm 32, so I'm about to be 33 this year. And I'm to that point where, you know what? I just don't care. You either like me or you don't. I don't care what you think of me. I'm going to do what benefits me and my peace and my vibes, and you can just run along.
I'm with you, Jessica. I'm with you on that one. I always say, we can talk it through. If there's an issue, if I have an issue with you, I'm going to let you know what the issue is. I'm not going to be hostile, but I'm going to let you know what it is. If you can't handle it, that's on you. It ain't on me. I'm releasing it because I'm not going to walk around with it on my shoulders. I've done that way too long in my life. Walk around with it on my shoulders, tiptoeing around you. I'm going to just let you know what I feel you have wronged me. You can take it or you can leave it. And at the end of the day, my theory is I don't sleep with you and you don't pay my bills. So if you can't handle what I have come to you and said to you as a grown woman to resolve the issue, that is on you. But now if you come back down the road and you want to talk, I'll talk to you about it. I'm always open to discuss it. But I will leave you on my Facebook page too. I will, because see, you're the one that want to see what I'm not watching to see what you do. And I've had that happen. I've had that happen with someone, and I'm like, oh, so you trying to come for me? Oh yeah, you coming for me, but what you coming for me about, you only know because you scrolling through my Facebook page. Like I told you that if there's an issue, we can talk about it. You don't want to talk to me about it, but what you trying to come for me about, I just made that post yesterday. So I know you've been over here snooping, but since I know you snooping, I'm gonna keep on posting because that's getting under your skin. It ain't getting under my skin, but I'm gonna keep on. So yeah, I've only had, well, I told Becca today, I've only had one and Nashida knows this one too. Nashida knows this story too. Nashida was there. She wasn't there in person, but she was there. We were the same place. It was the same place. We wasn't friends. We were never friends. But there was some work. And y'all, what you see, this is me. Like, this is me. I'm not gonna pop on like that is not who I am. But if you have something to say, just say it to me. You don't have to say it to everybody else. Just say it to me. And then don't look surprised when you done said it to 3 people and then I come and question you about it. What is it? So 3 people lied. 3 people lied. 3 people who have no connection with one another. They lied. And then you look all surprised and in your feelings. Don't do that.
I always stick with the motto, if you can't say it to that person's face, then maybe you shouldn't be saying it. And if you're saying it behind their back, you most certainly should not be saying it. And then those are not the people I like to keep around. So
yeah,
I have to let them go.
Mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind if people talk behind my back because they need to get it off their chest to somebody. And it's not me, because we're going to have a conversation about what you're saying. The other person is going to pet them and say, oh yeah, she's doing this to you, or she said this, and they're going to have a whole conversation. Hopefully by the end they'll feel better. But if they come to me, they're not going to feel better because we're going to have a conversation. And so sometimes people will come back and say, oh, this person said this about you. I'm like, well, they said it to you. If they wanted to say it to me, they would have came to me. They just came to you as a confidant. Like, I don't mind people talking about me behind my back. So I know I could be a jerk sometimes. I know I can say some crazy stuff. But then there's that, well, if I confront her about what she said, is she going to say something back? Yes, I'm going to talk back. And so I'm probably not going to back down either or change what I said. So I don't mind if people go and talk to other people. However, when those people come back and tell me what you said, I don't like it when people come back and try to act like they never, like agreeable with you when they don't agree, or come back and, it's a weird kind of thing, talk to you the same way they've always talked to you, but you're kind of like, you had a lot to say behind my back. Like, so it's kind of like, okay, we're not friends like that. Like that's how I start feeling. Like, we're not friends like that. We're okay. We're okay. Just if you know that that person has a problem with you, but they're not saying it to you, so like, to me, they're not saying it to me. They have a problem with me, but they're not saying it to me, and they're being extra nice and cool when I know that they're really upset. And I think we all kind of do that sometimes because we need to vent. But when it gets excessive, I think when it starts to cause problems or taint somebody's image or something like that, I think that's, when you're telling too many people. Like, it's one thing you tell your friend, maybe you all are friends, it's just that one person that you told to, oh, this, and you're kind of venting to them. But when you've told like 20 people, that goes into like slander, kind of like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, to me, I don't know. I'm going on and on now. You go ahead. I'm sorry.
But in that in that same group of friends, though, you run into that grapevine and things change and they get altered, or like the game of telephone we used to play as kids. And so if they tell that one person in your circle, that person's going to tell everybody else, and it's going to get back around. So by the time it gets back to you, it's going to be completely different. And like, there's going to be so many lies mixed in there because that's what happens. So I would rather just have someone, like, if you have a problem with me, come and say it to me. Let's talk it out. If you need to scream, by all means, scream. I'm okay. Scream at me. Like, you're not going to bother me or offend me or whatever you want to say. But we're grown-ups. This is not high school. This is not middle school. We can't just go, oh my gosh, I hate her today.
Right.
It is high school sometimes, just to be honest. Sometimes the relationships, these groups are like high school. I don't hang out in a lot of groups, so the grapevine thing really doesn't affect me. Maybe if I'm in a group of people, but I don't really pay attention to that because I usually only have like one or two friends that I actually feel like in my heart, this is my friend. Everybody else, I kind of just expect that kind of like cliquish group mentality, talking chitter chatter, because it's just, I feel like, I don't know if you ladies feel like this, but I feel like this is just a normal thing that happens in military spouse life, that there's cliques, there's groups, there's, and in those groups, there are friends who are not friends and friends who are pretending to be friends. And it can get a little messy in the groups,
It can be a lot.
It's a lot.
And you can't keep up. Yeah.
So Jasmine, do you have anything to share on that?
I don't care what people, it just bothers me when they start lying. Like, you can tell, if you're gonna tell my business, but tell the truth about it, because then they're gonna tell me about it, and I'm like, a very passive person, so I'm not. If it's something stupid, like if it's something, oh, Jasmine said this, okay, I did. What do you want me to do? I
heard her say that one day. She's like, yeah, I was like, oh,
like, okay.
I'm right there with you, Jasmine. Me too. Like, okay.
Like, I don't know what they thought I was supposed to say. And then it'll be the messiest people I have met are military kids, specifically Army and Marines. And I don't understand why, because they just start stuff because they know they're about to leave. And I'm like, please stop it.
So is it that they're just about to leave, not necessarily?
They're just messy because they all live together. Because I don't know, they start lying
because their clique is together.
They all run together, and when they don't, it's just. But I don't know. I don't want to get into it. I lost a lot of friends because of that.
But I think it's hard for military wives to connect because of cliques. Because, like, we have, like, us, I feel, just off of y'all vibes, like, we're grown, we ain't got time for this. So we just know our specifics what we want in friendships. And like, I don't know, when I first moved here to San Diego, I like literally wanted a lot of friends, but just after just being in my own community and just seeing just how ladies interact, because my husband was deployed when we first moved here, so he was gone. I was like, I'm only gonna eat and sleep here. We're going on adventures. So when school opened, it was just like that's when I slowed down and started meeting people. But after meeting people, I was like, yeah, I want to stay to myself. And it was only because like there was people being bullied. It was just like how, and they were like allowing people, other militaries being bullies, and they were allowing themselves to get bullied. And I was just like, yeah, not me. Yeah. Yeah. Like pause.
That's the hard thing is, especially if you've been hurt before, it's like, I'm just gonna be by myself now. Like I'm not gonna put in the effort. But the reality is, I mean, we need people. We do, and I know it's hard, but it's like,
And there's
you have to get back out there, because there are so many good people out there, and it's worth it to me.
It's like
I think-
dating, honestly. You gotta,
Yes.
go on that
Yes.
first date and decide
Yeah.
whether or not you vibe with them or not. And if you don't, you
Right.
just let it go, right?
Right.
move on
And
to
that's
the next one.
okay too. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you don't have to be buddy with everyone. You don't have to be
That's
friends with
true.
everyone.
Mhm.
Yep, you don't. And that's what I tell, I try to remember that myself. And then I also try to, remind that to my kids.
Mhm.
And so like here where we are now, we're a Navy family and we're near Fort Belvoir, which is Army. So like for her and for my kids, they're coming in and they're around a lot of Army kids who they live on Fort Belvoir. And so it's like, well, yeah, they already know one another. It's not necessarily that they're Army kid or Marine kid. It's they're in that clique.
Mhm.
But I mean, I even say that about other branches with spouses, right? I have met other as a Navy family, and then I meet Army spouses. I'm like, oh, they're cliquish. They're mean. They're really not. It's just I'm coming into their world, and I don't know their world. I'm Navy. I'm like, I don't know what the heck y'all are talking about. I don't know. But yeah,
I think as humans, we gravitate to what we know. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we think our group is better or
Right.
whatever, but we gravitate because, I mean, the military in general has so many acronyms.
yeah.
But then every branch of the service has different acronyms. And then you're like, well, wait, what language are we speaking? We're currently we're in Norfolk, Virginia. We're in a Navy town. We're an Air Force family, but we're not even attached to the Navy base. We're working with NATO. So I'm like, wait, where are we?
Who are you?
What do we do? But again, because of circumstances around the world right now, I haven't even met a single person that my husband works with in 6 months. But I think it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning of that those quality friendships over the quantity of friendships at this point. And Grace, you were talking about the dating. I've actually been to a spouse social before where we pretty much like did a speed dating through the spouse social. It was pretty great because you saw people, but I think that regardless, it's so important to find a connection because with the fact that our spouses deploy or that we get, or that, whatever the circumstances, kids get sick, we get sick, whatever the case may be, it's always good to have someone that you can call on. And that's my motivation is when I get to a new place is to try and really find, they may not be your best friend, but there's a mutual respect that, hey, you can call on me, I can call on you if there's a need.
Right. Because I mean, I just remember when we were in Germany and I met the FRG girls and I was pregnant, and one of the first things she said to me was, if you need me to watch your 2-year-old while you give birth, like, I'm here. And it was like, yeah, because I like, where else is he gonna go? Like, my husband's deployed and my mom's gonna be there, but she's gonna be with me. So like, where is my 2-year-old gonna go? So it was like, it's like that, having that need, like we all need other people. We do.
Yeah, we do.
Yep. And so that's the end of our topics. We pretty much covered everything that I had on my list to discuss. If I'm just going to give it back to Sybil, and she can take care of all the wrap up.
Wait, I have a question. Have any of y'all used an app to find friends?
No, well, I haven't.
Peanut
Yes,
app.
Peanut.
Yeah, the Peanut app. I was going to say there's Peanut and then there's another one, but I was just kind of curious if anybody else has used them. I saw it on one of the Milspouse groups that I'm on, and they were talking about it. And it's funny because Grace mentioned it's like dating, and I was like, I'm pretty sure there was an app about it.
Yeah, and you swipe too. That's how Peanut works.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's so
There's an
funny.
app for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
I haven't gotten on there, but I just remembered like it clicked, and I was like, oh, I've seen something about that. So I wanted to ask if y'all had heard anything about it or used it, and kind of like what you think about it.
It's more like swipe to the left if you don't like, or if you don't want to connect. It's like, isn't that like, it's pretty much like Tinder. You swipe left, swipe right if you want to connect. I mean, I reached out to, it's like civilian and military people in there. Like, you have to select like what your interest is. So you can put like military spouse. I like outdoors. I like hiking. I like wine. I like girls' night. And then it'll just match you up with all these people that are where you live. Like, so if I'm in San Diego, then somebody in like Sierra Mesa or Oceanside, like it'll connect you with people like in your surrounding location. But I mean, I really didn't connect with anybody. I was just like, hey, nice to meet you. And then I just delete the app.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to check that out. Oh, Shantae McFarland said hi, Cheryl. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap up because it is 9 o'clock. We talked for an hour. Yes. I thought it was a great conversation.
It was, yeah.
Thank you, Nishita, for leading this conversation, and thank you to our guests for joining us this week, and of course to our conversation starters and to our viewers out there that are watching the live stream. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for watching. Quick note, our next talk is the third Thursday of this month, and that is going to be led by Becca. Do you want to give them a little?
Sure. We will be speaking with a friend of mine. Her name is Courtney. I'll give you all the great details whenever you guys get to meet her. She is actually a relationship. She touches a little bit on sexual intimacy, and the military marriage. So we're definitely going to be discussing intimacy. It's not going to be anything that your kids couldn't watch. It's not going to be anything like that, but mostly about communication and intimacy with your spouse and how that kind of looks a little bit different for some of us. Just because we have to communicate differently. We have to learn, okay, maybe to read their tone through email or through text, or not to take everything they say completely literally sometimes. And the same, as they're trying to interpret it, how we're communicating with them. So we're going to be talking about that kind of stuff. And she's pretty awesome to talk to. So you guys will really enjoy having her, I think.
Yes. So that will be the third Thursday. What is that date? Jasmine, can you look the date up for me? At 8 p.m. we will be streaming here live. And we will also be doing guests again if you want to sign up to join us. And I will be putting that link out, and I will be including the email because I forgot. You ladies were so great when I had to, like, oh my gosh, I have to tag them and find their information. What day is that on? 18th. The 18th. So the 18th here, it will be streaming live. And so Becca will be leading that talk, like I said. And I also want to give a shout out to Dad Jones, who is sponsoring this episode of Besties, Frenemies, and Friends. So we want to say thank you to Dad Jones for sponsoring this talk for us. And yeah. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week. Be sure to share this. Be sure to tell your friends, your good girlfriends, your acquaintances. No, hold on. Tell your besties, your frenemies, your friends, all about Milspouse conversations, because we are here to have those real, raw conversations. Like, we want to get in it. All right, so invite your friends. We have a Facebook page, we have Instagram, we have Twitter, and we have YouTube. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel, please, pretty please. Thank you. Somebody, I won't say their name, was like, oh, it's great, you have 2 subscribers. You know, just killjoy. Just killjoy.
I didn't say that.
What'd you say?
You was like, and we 2 subscribers on YouTube. I was like, oh, okay.
So anywho, thank you guys for joining us. Good
Yeah,
night.
thanks, Sybil. Thanks, everybody else. Good night.
Thank you.
Hey,
Good
nice
night.
meeting you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, hold on.